Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to another throwback review here after we had that week with that video that I did for I Come in Peace / Dark Angel from 1990, which tanked. Some of them don't do well, but maybe it was just a little bit too obscure, and I figure this one is a little bit different in that while it was kind of like a one and done, no sequel or spin-off, though we have been hearing rumors for years about one, and it has some effects which are quite dated by today's standards, is for The Last Starfighter from 1984. So this one stars Lance Guest, who you may know from films such as Halloween 2, Catherine Mary Stewart, who you may know from Night of the Comet and Dudes. That's kind of a deep cut there. Dan O'Herlihy, who you may know from RoboCop and Halloween 3. And this is directed by Nick Castle, who you may know from Halloween. There's a lot of Halloween in this one. A lot of Halloween crossover, and even one of the side characters in this one, I believe, was played by another actor who was also in Halloween 3. And we have another little horror connection in this one with an uncredited appearance by Bruce Abbott of Reanimator fame. But at any rate, the synopsis for this film is as follows. High schooler Alex Rogan conquers a Starfighter video game only to find out it was just a test and is transported to another planet. He has been recruited to join a team of the best starfighters to defend the world from the attack. Now, I was recently gifted this 4K release by Arrow Video, and it had been several years since I'd last seen this film, and I was eager to sit down with it and see how well it's aged after all these years. And as luck would have it, it's actually aged pretty well. Speaking non-spoiler first, of course, and just to like the core of the story itself before going into anything about the visual effects, I love the idea of somebody playing a video game to kind of pass the time. One of the only things to do at this trailer park where our lead lives, only to have it turn out that they have a calling, a higher purpose of sorts, that it was all this test, whisked away to an alien world on the other side of, well, I guess the galaxy, the universe, far away at any rate. Wrapped up in this war, other planets in the system are under threat, and their inhabitants, look at this opportunity to join Star League as one of the highest honors. But obviously, this is a lot for our lead to take in, and he has to kind of come around to it, realize his place in that while this star system is far away, down the line, Earth is going to be under threat as well, so he's going to have to kind of rise to the challenge. Now, of course, he can't be just kind of taken away without others knowing what's going on or wondering where he is, so we have this duplicate that's in his place called a beta unit, a robot that looks and sounds like him to kind of fill in, to take his place and work as almost like a diversion to this mission while he is away. It's a really cool idea and kind of brings some comedy throughout after our lead is kind of out and about on his journey. And I think one reason why this film really works for me in that whole situation is that it kind of holds a light tone and keeps us connected to his home life through that beta unit. So we never really forget what's at stake. Because as the film opens, we just get this nice slow pan around this trailer park, showing these slow-paced and sleepy lives of everyone there, how well they know each other, depend on each other, and really ground us in what's ultimately important, that while our lead does want to kind of get out there, go away to college, this is his home. And, and his home, and the people that he cares about is the whole reason why he fights, why he steps up. While us as the audience get pulled into that life with aspects like this beta unit serving as a way to bring us back rather than simply getting an intro and then taking that lead away into space. We have a humorous way to keep coming back with those reminders. Classic hero's journey in an 80s sci-fi film which has aged surprisingly well despite the visual effects. Now, as for those visual effects, by today's standards, it definitely these shots would look like previs, something used in the planning of the final effects shots before they are rendered and worked out by hundreds of artists. But back in the day, this was never before seen. Having to use these Cray supercomputers to try to generate this, crunch all these numbers just to output these visuals. And I remember there being almost like two camps at the time. For me, I loved it. I loved this new look, this computer graphics thing that was so new. This look was it's kind of like compared to other ones at the time, though, they looked a bit strange because they were much smoother than what we would usually see in other films like Star Wars, but nowhere near as much detail since they were rendered on the computer and it wasn't possible at the time. compared to ones like Star Wars, where we have these, highly detailed models that are, shot in front of a blue screen with motion controlled cameras and everything. Some, like me, really love this new look, but there were some who really preferred the older method of doing this with models and blue screen. Now, I'd seen a video about this film among some others over the years by Corridor Crew. I believe it was only a few months ago, which I will link to that specific portion of their video at the end of this one, so stick around. But they went into much more detail about the visual effects. It's highly worth checking out what they've kind of put together, what it took to create this kind of film and these shots back in the day from the opinion of a current day visual effects artist. But I would love to see that Corridor Crew team do kind of like a remake of these effects, just for their channel. Not the way that they did for Tron, where they were trying to recreate the exact same shot with the exact same look, but using today's equipment, but just to, remake this to say, shot for shot, how can we do those shots better? It'd be interesting. I don't know, maybe they'll check it out one day. But now for some very quick spoilery stuff. So here comes this banner here. So feel free to check out the film, come back here, check it out. Right now it's currently on a paid rental, so you can check it out, come back here, finish the rest of the video, or just fast forward until this banner is gone. Anyways, so first up, the Death Blossom. Thought it was awesome. It's a very silly idea, but it's really cool to see this shot that's kind of like a roller coaster spinning out of control for a cool VFX shot with a lot of action. Love the idea, though I would have thought it'd be kind of cool to show him kind of using a barf bag after that, because it's definitely stomach churning. Also, I liked the idea of the translators. Another cool touch. Everybody speaks their own alien language, and this translator makes them hear their own coming back from other people, such as English. A cool idea that I've also seen in stuff like Star Trek and Guardians of the Galaxy, but one little question: how did the people at the trailer park understand what Greg was saying at the end? Greg could hear them, Alex could hear Greg, but nobody else had a translator. Just picking. Anyways, but that whole introduction, getting the translator and getting set up, being brought to this alien world with these strange-looking creatures, speaking strange languages, and just that overwhelming introduction for him was great. Seeing so many creatures, wondering where they were from, what their worlds were like, and so on. It makes that ending of Alex and Maggie heading off into space just kind of kick off these ideas of like what's going to happen to them now, how crazy and exciting will their lives be, pushing things from them not just being together at the park or in the city, as Maggie's character had mentioned, but out there among the stars. Like, so much stuff coming for them. And finally, Wil Wheaton. Where was he? He's in the credits, but it looks like his shots were removed, or he's in the background. Just kidding, that's not really a spoiler. But also, sequel. I mean, it'd be so easy these days. Okay, so this one isn't a spoiler, so I can take that down. But, as I was saying, we have a very nice ending. Everything's wrapped up, but there's so many options to spin this off or have a sequel. Even now, over 40 years later, it can be done. Give us a sequel, expanding this one out a bit, where we have our lead's grandson joining the Star League. Call it the next Starfighter. Have Lance Guest and Mary Catherine Stewart in this, at least in some small cameo roles, maybe to pass a torch. Give us a nice slim budget there, test the waters, make it accessible for those who never saw the original, or even give us a short remastered re-release of the original with a trailer at the end for the next Starfighter, which could have hopefully a very big theatrical release, make its money. If it does well, we can get a part 3 for the next Starfighters with an S, or maybe a final one, part 4, the final Starfighter. See, I can come up with titles and loose ideas. Maybe I should start writing. Now, who's going to drop $50 million on this and, to produce it? And who knows? Anybody there know how to write, produce, direct, get this film made? Anyways, but yeah, I've been hearing over the years that there's going to be another one of these. There's even a listing for the Last Starfighters with an S on IMDb. But it seems like this is going the route of Beetlejuice 2, where we're going to hear about a sequel for decades, that by the time it finally comes out, even if it's decent, it's just not going to live up to 2 decades worth of anticipation, no matter what it is. And sure, with this film, just touching on it again real quick, a lot of these visual effects are dated by today's standards. They look like the previs you see on special features and behind the scenes, maybe with a little bit of different lighting. But it doesn't take too much away from the film or the story itself, seeing those older effects. While they were exciting at the time, now you just kind of need to just accept it and kind of get used to it. Like the effects of some much older films, where it felt like they were just trying to imply a scene and let your imagination fill in the gaps rather than providing a photorealistic, completely believable representation. If any of that makes any sense. During the early days of COVID, I was watching a lot of older films, and it felt like the visual effects were more implying what's happening, and you had to fill in the gap a lot more than the ones we have nowadays, where we are expecting it to look absolutely real and believable. Anyways, went off on a little bit of a tangent there. To wrap this one up, growing up with this film, I was definitely the target demographic for it. I was 9 years old, loving 80s sci-fi, loving arcades, and completely on board with this entire journey. This hero's journey of a teenager who was eager to leave town for college and start his life, only to leave Earth and save not just everyone and all he holds dear at home, but countless other worlds throughout the galaxy. All of this while we have a very triumphant pounding soundtrack that pulls us in. It definitely made this one more than worth checking out. And speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out this latest video here for The Last Starfighter from 1984, which at the time of this video is available on paid rental. And yeah, I had bought the 4K edition. I also have it on VHS. I'd actually just picked this one up at a secondhand store, a little thing to collect here. But yeah, I'd taken the Blu-ray route, of course, when I watched this one. My previous one was one of the first ones that I ever bought, so this 4K remaster was a really cool addition to the collection. Anyways, that's all I've got for this one. Thanks for coming by and for sticking around to the end, as it really does help out quite a bit, as does giving me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and if not already a subscriber, subscribing and hitting that little bell icon to get notifications for when I put up new content, which is typically 1 to 3 times a week. That way you can hop in during that first hour and help the almighty algorithm promote these videos. There are a few links about to pop up at the end here, so be sure to check those out, and I will see you in the next one.